Hey, what's up? It's the Critical Plug, and I got for you an album review of the new Jill Scott album, To Whom It May Concern. This is the 6th album from Philly singer, songwriter, rapper, actress, a legend in the neo-soul game, Jill Scott, coming back with an album after not having a solid release in over a decade. With her last album dropping in 2015, it's not like she absolutely vanished. She was still doing features, contributing to fantastic albums, be it Conway the Machine, God Don't Make Mistakes, or Big Crit, Forever Is a Mighty Long Time, just to name a few. And with her being such a legend, releasing 2 great albums at the start of her career, making her stand out amongst the neo-soul greats, be it D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, not only doing a jazz and hip-hop fusion, but also poetry as well. And if you're a production nut like me, you will notice that Jill Scott and D'Angelo did use the same producer for the single off their LP, that being DJ Premier, with D'Angelo with Devil's Pie, and with Jill Scott and Tierra Whack, Northside. And not only has Jill Scott proven herself to be a well-rounded woman artistically, but also being a well-rounded woman in terms of persona and attitude, personality, where she could embrace you, give you that passionate loving, to just holding you and just snapping you in half, if you cross her. And just not giving a fuck, and it shows on this album. But it goes deeper than persona, because sonically, you are getting a variety of live instrumentation, and I feel like we are experiencing this paradigm shift amongst artists from the 2000s, as you have Beyonce with her revocation of black culture, with her Renaissance, Cowboy Carter, or D'Angelo with Black Messiah. And yes, that album was released in the 2010s, but I say that to say as the 2000s rolled in, you started to get a monotony and these very tepid R&B releases that the labels were scared to go above and beyond, give artists artistic freedom, due to the fact that hip-hop was just dominating and wanting to keep up with them and just keep them in a box. You could not go outside of the box or experiment whatsoever, like you would be laughed out of the boardroom. But in the midst of the 2010s, you started to see artistic freedom, you started to see R&B artists get more adventurous, Janelle Monáe with ArchAndroid. And if I could dive into the D'Angelo catalog a little bit, I think he chose the perfect time to just like break away from doing any music whatsoever due to the fact he may have been pigeonholed to put out music that he was told to and opposed to wanting to. And in a way, I would say this is like Jill Scott's Black Messiah in a way, due to how eccentric the vocals could get. Maybe not as freaky and futuristic as D'Angelo's vocals on there, which were totally otherworldly. Jill is not afraid to go into obscurity. She is not afraid to just go the distance and just be totally eccentric and unhinged when it comes to the vocals on here. Whether it be Pay You on a Tuesday, Off to Back, and thematically giving embrace to the black community, black culture, blackness, and a spit in the face to white supremacy, and a kick in the balls to standard expectations of a modern R&B album. For example, with Be Great, that starts off with this marching band instrumentation, which carries so many dynamics, gorgeous passages of sonic grandiosity, that shares similarities to that of, again, Janelle Monáe, Beyonce's Lemonade era, but also with the 70s funk and progressive soul of that of Curtis Mayfield. Also appearing too occasionally on this record are the hand percussions, kind of the ghostly tones and ghostly backing vocals, and also the fat bass line that you would probably get off of a Marvin Gaye record, such as I Want You, or with huge choruses like on Beautiful People, and some dreamy psychedelic guitar arpeggios that you would hear on Radiohead's In Rainbows. And her leads are so emotional, they soar, they captivate. and also not being afraid into diving into odd time signatures like on that of OFFDABACK, and also thematically matching how meditative the instrumentation is, as she's giving thanks to those of other Black revolutionaries, Black activists, Black artists who paved the way for her to have her rights today, who made everything possible for her to coexist with society, be it have the freedom to go into bookstores, sing diverse music to diverse audiences, and also not making it about her, but also the Black community in general, with those who paved the way in the vocal leads or whispered from left to right channel. And as I mentioned before, with Jill Scott being a rapper, she is spitting friggin' bars on North's side, absolutely killing it with Tierra Whack. And if you're a Roots fan, you know Jill Scott is no stranger to the bars. And it is such a dope beat with its crispy snares, funky bass line, with a child choir in the background. At least it sounds like a child choir. And the production is equally fun and eerie, but also very busy like you expect DJ Premier production to be, with squishy synth delay, light elevating keys, and the whole track just definitely has that city Philly vibe to it. And while it is a busy track, it's definitely a smooth one, with a driving groove, clear in sound, chunky and hypnotic, and also a great back and forth with Tierra on here, trading fire verses with Tierra on this, and Tierra just sounds so eccentric, so charismatic, and the way she just attacks the beat, and the way that Jill Scott just dominates with so much personality. Like, in a way, I am kind of reminded of Black Star. And the wildest track here, in my opinion, and definitely the most standout, is, you know, the one I'm talking about, Pay You on Tuesday. It's definitely coming musically from a place we really don't get too often. When it comes to the humor, the campiness of the bluesy speakeasy, I do love the topical flip and the jab at the lack of media literacy a lot of these idiots have. And I would say topically at the base of the context that she's going for, I also do think it applies to PRESSHA. But this time diving more into the systemic racism, but also diving more into the societal angle of it, just showing justifiable disgust to the conforming to white supremacy. And while the aspect of this is used kind of in a different context, I would say this is like the progressive soul version of Black Flag's My War, which I know is kind of a stretch, but it's like, you're one of them. If you've heard that track, you know what I'm talking about. We also have a very genius collaboration with legendary rapper Too Short, which, if you didn't know, personified this pimp-like figure in rap, but this time switching it around, correlating it to systemic racism, US government, big pharma, in a nutshell, the capitalistic structure that we live under. But with how groovy and funky this track is, it's very danceable and has a lot of grooves to it. I really don't want the message to be lost here. But with the track Math, I'm pretty sure we do get more and more correlations to where Jill Scott's coming from here, where the production is very cacophonous, fuzzy drums, watery bass, but also another very strong sentiment, like the cause and effects of cycles that have plagued the Black community, that have evolved into these vicious generational curses, and also being targets of consumerism and given the idea that they need to invest more to mitigate their pain, with very somber horn swells and pianos, and giving us probably some of the most freakiest vocals on the whole entire record. And I would say sequentially and sonically we do have a bit of a pickup, with Lift Me Up, a very celebratory sounding track with giant bursting horns, Jill singing her heart out, trying to maintain self-love, pretty much having a mental check-in, affirming her to not go so hard on herself, learning the acceptance of life having its ups and downs, and trying to stay strong in the cycle of life's shit show. And then there's the track Ode to Nikki that has dope, psychedelic, and galactic production, with a boom bap beat, fat, beautiful bass, as Jill and Ab Soul sequentially complement each other. with lyrics of fighting the system, unifying, saying how, yes, there is struggle economically, societally, but it is not a monotonous cycle and we can break it. And we also have the incredibly sexual banger, Don't Play With It, with some of the most clever and horny bars on here, and honestly, a track I should have mentioned that has even more eccentric vocals here, as the lyrics talk about being in tune with a woman's body, with Jill's body in general, and how to please her sexually. I do, however, think there is a little bump in the road here when it comes to the collaboration with Jid. I don't think, to be honest, is a terrible track, because it does have its grooves, but to me, the trap production just kind of throws things off and makes the track sound less organic, sounding very tacked on. Also, another odd fit for me would be Right Now, because in comparison to the very organic production on here, I do think throwing a dance track on here, like a house track, is really an odd fit. But I do think if Jill was to do like an electronic album or like a dance track album of like boogie, disco, or what have you, I think this would have fit perfectly, but this one's just kind of an odd match for me. And I just don't think it bodes well with any of the tracks here. The track I Say, though, is a very gorgeous, beautiful, blissful ballad that delivers a combination of beautiful ambient boom bap, but also some gospel as well, about having the gratitude of life, love, moving through the storms of life, with some African group vocals floating through the mix, which really could have been a great send-off due to the fact it really does capture the finality feel of the LP. And the unfortunate side of the album, to me, I feel is the reception aspect, as I haven't heard everyone's opinion on this, at least not to the average listener, but to the average listeners I've spoken to, they're not really receiving this well. And I feel for those who aren't sitting down with this album, who aren't taking this in, who aren't paying attention to the texture, the sequential aspect of it, like the significance of this, the poignancy of this, they're probably not going to get it. But I encourage the average listener to really let this album just be immersive to you, to just really listen to what's being said here. Pay attention to the instrumentation. Pay attention to the sequential aspect of this. Pay attention to what she's saying. And just immerse yourself into the album. Just listen to it and appreciate it contextually. And if you could do that, just sit down, listen to it on a good pair of headphones, I think you could get a better experience. Because again, there's so much texture and so much nuance here, so much artistic creativity and detail, especially into the production, that should not go unnoticed. And I feel once you pay attention to that, you could really capture and appreciate and enjoy the beauty of this record. And it is a fantastic record, and Jill showing that even though she hasn't released any solid material for years now, she can still come back with a comeback album and kill it. And still showing she could be a force without selling out and putting out an indulgent, watered-down, tepid R&B project. Overall, I think this is a fantastic record, absolutely great comeback record, and definitely ranks very high for me in the comeback albums of the decade, for sure. And proving how Jill Scott is not afraid to challenge her listeners. And whatever comes to mind, she's gonna say it in the best artistic, passionate, creative way. And with how captivating and innovative this LP is, I really do hope that other R&B artists or legendary R&B artists or even legendary neo-soul artists take note and really just expand from here. I feel like she's really raised the bar with neo-soul once again with this beautiful, creative, ambitious, and powerful record. I'm feeling a 4.5 out of 5 on this. If you've given this a listen, what'd you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And that's it. I am your plug. Hit me with a sub. Show me love. This is my opinion. If you hate it, your view is still a dub. Critical plug, Jill Scott, to whom it may concern,